Welcome to Conversations with Sarah. I'm Sarah Reddan, therapeutic coach of SRTT, and today I am joined by Malachi Mott, professional musician based in LA, who is on a mission to empower artists to create art the world deserves. We're going to have a conversation about his self-care practices, how they support his well-being and his creativity. Welcome, Malachi. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for coming and sharing with me today. We're going to talk a little bit about your personal self-care practices. And you were telling me that that's something you've started sort of this year and how much that has changed your life and the way that things are going for you. So I'm really interested to hear more about that and for you to share that with the people that are listening today. But can we start with you telling me just a little bit about your career in music, sort of where you've been, where you come from, where you're going?
Oh, sure. I've been producing about 20 years, and I went to Berklee College of Music in 2004, and I got out 2008, came out to LA and got a job at Interscope Records. I was there for about 6 years, working full-time in the studios and the label. And then I left, and actually we can come back to this in a second why I left, because it's about self-care. But I left to pursue something that took care of me a little bit more. And now I do work for hire over the internet, and I teach music production to people who are between the ages of like 20 and 30.
Okay, thank you. So I imagine when I think about sort of music production and being a creative, that it is very much like a hustle lifestyle, busy, 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 and self-care not really kind of being a part of your daily practice. Was that your reality or is that different?
Yeah, so I actually left because they reinforced this thing of like yourself is not something that's important. I remember working 12-hour days, a little bit more than 12 hours, and coming in just being exhausted all the time,
Mm.
barely being able to eat. If I'm eating while I'm walking. I definitely remember one time I worked Christmas Eve and Christmas. When I say Christmas Eve and Christmas, I don't mean I went in and came home. I worked the whole 24 hours each
Oh,
time because there was no one else, because everyone went home for Christmas.
yeah.
And that's just normal. And when it's normalized, there's nothing, you don't put anything in place to counteract it or to help the situation in any way. You're just like, oh, this is what everyone does.
Hmm.
So my health deteriorated, my self-worth deteriorated, and just my worth just kept going down. And I didn't get that until I started being around people who were doing very well in life, and they were just like, why would you do that?
Mm.
And I was like, you just don't get it. You don't know what it's like to be in the music industry.
Yeah.
But now that I am taking care of myself, I love my life. I do fun things. My spirit is up. And then what's interesting is the money and stuff flows to me, so I don't have to work so hard. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So what changed? Because I imagine that, the people around you, everybody's kind of doing the same thing. Because like you say, it's the lifestyle, it's the expectation, it's the, to get ahead of in that kind of career, you need to be showing that you're willing and doing what needs to be done. So what changed for you that made you sort of open your mind to the possibility of doing it a different way?
Well, all right, that's a good question. There's a lot of like incremental things that happen. So the first was someone gave me The Secret. I don't know if you've ever
Yeah.
read the book or watched that one. So a writer gave me that, and that shifted how I looked at the world.
Yeah.
And then when I started doing a program that was transformational work, it's called Landmark. It's self personal and professional development.
Mm.
So I started doing that, and that started helping me to see like, okay, if I raise my vibration, then everything goes up. And that's what made me end up having to quit, because I realized I couldn't raise my vibration in that environment.
Yeah.
So I quit, and I started my own business. And then in doing that, I started being around entrepreneurs. And if you ever hang out with entrepreneurs, you'll see like a lot of them are all doing the same thing, raising their vibration. And just spending all that time around them, having fun and being higher spirited, I started getting that was my access to actually getting the happiness and fulfillment that I wanted in life.
Mm. What were people like around you, sort of when you, assuming you said to people like, I'm quitting my job and this is where I'm going with things, people that kind of were with you at that point, how did they react to that?
That's a good question. I lost some friends. I'm not gonna lie. People that were like, you just couldn't cut it.
Mm,
That you're not made for this. A lot of things were thrown at me. I actually heard someone yelling through a door about me. This is interesting. I'm not gonna say who, but
yeah.
he said Malachi thinks he can change the world with the power of positive thought. He's gonna learn. That's not how the world works. I heard that through the door and I was like, all right,
Yeah.
yeah, I gotta leave this environment. This doesn't make sense. But I got like, the more I stood up straight and the more I like stood up for myself, the more I rubbed those people the wrong way,
Mm,
and people that expected me to not care about myself. And so I would say that most people reacted pretty negatively if they required me to serve them. But
yeah.
the people that were like waiting for me to grow, they were like, yes, come, we've been waiting, come hang out with us. So it's, just a different circle now. I don't
Yeah.
have any of the same friends.
And I think that's really interesting. That's something I experience with my clients, and something that I think people worry about when they start on this like personal development path is that you're going to lose friendships. And yes, you will lose friendships. You will lose people around you because, as you said, often the people that want you to stay in that space are the people that benefit from you being in that space. And once you start living like your authentic life, living in your truth, living in your power, you are no longer serving their needs, you're serving your own and a greater power. So I think it's quite interesting to say, for you to say, yeah, I did lose people, but what I've gained has been so much more. I mean, that's what I think I'm hearing from you, that you have gained so much more from making these changes.
Yeah, I think I've gained what I actually came looking for. I was looking for, a career of my own,
Yeah,
and a way to so one thing that I notice is in America, I don't know if it's like that over there, but most jobs are not geared to help you grow. They
yeah,
have, here's your hourly rate, this is what you have, and 10 years later, you're still doing the same hourly rate, the same everything.
mm,
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, if your goal is to grow, then you're gonna rub and bump heads with them, because they're like, look, we're setting this system up so that no one moves and we don't have to worry about changing anything.
mm,
So I don't think I would have worked in any business like that. I'm always growing and I'm always looking to expand and I'm always looking to do better the next year. And that's
yeah.
not really something that, again, people who are benefiting from you flipping the burgers for, $10 an hour, they're not going to want to give you more or allow you to, because then who's going to flip the burgers?
Yeah. Or want you to think that you A, deserve more, and B, can have more, because we can.
I think the ideal company would be one that allows people to see that, hey, yeah, we can, and we want you to do better.
Mm,
What do you want to do? We'll help you get there. I think
yeah.
that would be the ideal, but most companies aren't ran that way.
No, I mean, that is my experience of working an employed job in the UK is very much kind of, be a little worker bee, do what you need to do, and don't have too many ideas, and just sort of
Yeah.
stay in your lane and get on with it. Which
It
is
works
why
for
I am
some.
also self-employed.
Yeah, it works for some people. I'm not knocking it. I just know that
No,
I'm an expansive person. I just always have been that way.
yeah,
And so it's hard to put me in a cage.
yeah. So tell me about your daily self-care practices. Let's get into, what do you actually do?
All right, I'll just start. I wake up 5:45. I take a 3-minute cold shower. And then I have a meeting at 6 with two other friends, and we create our day and we meditate. We have two different meditations that we're doing currently, Wim Hof and Deepak Chopra. We're doing those two every day together. And
Mm,
then after that, I have, you know what a vision board is, right?
yeah,
I made a
I do.
vision.
Do you want to explain it for people that are
Okay,
listening
I'll
that might
explain a
not?
vision board.
Yeah,
All right, perfect. So a vision board is a collage of all of the things you want to manifest into your life. So if you want that car, if you want a certain relationship, you find pictures of that, put it on a board, and you look at it every day. I created a vision video because staring at still pictures wasn't doing it for me anymore.
Yeah.
So I created all those pictures into a slideshow, and I put some of my music behind it with me rapping really empowering lyrics.
Yeah.
I
I love
watch that
that.
every day. Yeah, I watch it every day.
Yeah, because vision boards, like the vision boards, just like the idea doesn't work for me, but that appeals to me. So thank you. I like that. I'm gonna
Yeah,
take that.
creativity. You just got to
Yeah,
figure out what works for you. So
yeah,
I watch, and it's only 2 minutes. So I watch it. I'd see all the pictures of everything I want to manifest this year, and I do it every day. So then from there, let's see, what do I do? Oh, I get ready. I go out and I exercise. I either hike or I shoot hoops. So
mm,
depending on, if my friends are available or not, I'll go out and we'll do a hike. It's a pretty strenuous hike. And I'm doing that to get my blood moving, keep my body in shape, and to get my brain, clear my brain
yeah,
up so it's not so foggy. Then I come back, I eat breakfast, and then I create a to-do list for the day, and I handle that. I take a nap near, maybe I want to say like 12 o'clock ish, 1 o'clock.
yeah,
I schedule in and make sure that I take a solid nap. My body needs it. I didn't realize that. I thought I had narcolepsy for a while. And then it just turned out that my body requires at least one nap a day. So that's something that I make sure I don't violate. And then, which is very hard to do in this country. I don't know,
mm,
some people have siesta in some
yeah,
countries. We don't
yeah.
have
Not
it.
not in England. It's not.
Yeah,
Napping is not really considered an acceptable daily practice. I think if your body needs to rest, you should listen to it. Listen to what your body needs and rest. Yeah, other places in Europe, definitely, it's a whole lifestyle thing. But I think we're similar to America in the way that, like, if you told most people that you have a nap, they would be like, "What?
yeah.
Why?"
Be like, what are you doing? You're so lazy, sleeping
Yeah.
on the job. I used to actually say, hey man, I don't know what I ate, but my stomach is hurting. I'd run to the bathroom and I just
Mm,
sleep on the toilet. I would do that like 3-4 times a week.
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. But I knew my body needed a nap, and I couldn't tell everybody I was going to take a nap. So I had to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, very unfortunate. I wish that it was acceptable. I mean, if I have a lunch break, well, I didn't have a lunch break. If I had a lunch break, I should be
Yeah.
able to take a nap break too.
Yeah.
So
And I think that's it, though. The more people talk about these things being their life and how positive their life is because of it, I think it will, having those conversations will sort of shift it for other people and open up the possibility of, oh, actually, yeah, it is okay. It isn't lazy to listen to my body and rest when my body asks me to.
yeah, or schedule it out. I take a nap even if my body isn't telling me to take a nap, because I
Yeah.
know eventually it's going to need it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll give it to you right now because this is where I have the space.
Yeah.
And also, I think adding to that point of making acceptable, if we show employers the benefit of allowing their employees to take a nap, like how it would impact their dollars and the culture and everything, I think that then they would encourage it. I
Mm,
think they have this idea that if people are taking a nap, then they're going to be tired the rest of the day. But the truth is, you can be recharged, ready to go, work more hours, be more present, make
mm,
less mistakes. So yeah, we should talk about it more, I
yeah.
think.
So how did you kind of, because I'm assuming that you didn't just wake up one day and decide I'm going to do all of these things and that just was it, that it was bit by bit practice. So where does it start and how did you build up to where you are now?
All right, I'm in a book club that me and my friends started, and we read like self-help books.
Yeah,
And one of them was the Atomic Habit. So it talked about adding one thing at a time instead of just
yeah,
changing your whole day. You just
yeah,
add one thing at a time. And I started building habits in the middle of my day, but it always would get wrecked if I got a job or something else came up and I had to
yeah,
travel. So I was like, all right, I gotta maybe stick to doing it in the morning or at night so it won't get messed up. And then that's when the idea of the morning habit started. So I looked up healthy morning habits, and I found a guy, um his name, I follow him on Instagram. He's really awesome. Oh my god, what is his name? All right, well, I could tell you, he gave us a bunch of really good morning, I'm looking at it now, morning routines and night routines to do.
mm,
I can't think of his name. Give me 1 second. It's gonna come to me. I gotta go through my mansion. Uh, oh my God, I see his face. All right. Well, if it comes to me later, I will definitely,
That's
say his
okay.
name so everyone can follow him, because I think he's a
Yeah,
genius.
we can put the links in the show notes anyway.
Yeah, and he's all about brain health, and he has a morning routine specific for your brain. And what he said, well, what I had that I came up with his was writing down my dreams when I wake up, making my bed, drinking water, and then taking a cold shower. That was from him. Brushing your teeth with the opposite hand, that apparently creates new neuron paths.
Mm-hmm.
Then drinking a brain tea, which I still do that. I just do it when I come back from my hike. Then yoga, breathing exercises, meditation, and stretch, and or it doesn't matter if you do all of them or not. Journaling, and then reading or something like that before you start your day. That's a
Yeah.
long morning routine. I was never able to do all of that. I would try it, and it just never would work. But him giving me this gigantic morning routine gave me the idea of like, I need to come up with mine that works for me and my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I slowly started putting it together. So I think this morning call is the best thing that I've ever done in terms of setting up self-care practices for myself.
And do you meet every morning, every day of the week?
We do it 5 days. So
Yeah.
the weekend we have off because people travel and stuff.
Yeah, you
But
need to do other things.
yeah, it's just hard. It's just harder to keep it consistent if you're going out of town.
Yeah.
There's no way to get on the call.
I think that's it though, isn't it? It's making space for it to be successful. So working out what consistency level allows you to be consistent and takes the pressure off, like feeling like you failed if you haven't done it 7 days a week. Whereas if you do it 5 days a week and there's space for if it needs to change to accommodate people's life, that's okay. We work with it.
Yeah, that
It's
works.
important.
Yeah, and even if I can't make it like tomorrow, if something came up, like if this interview would have been a little bit earlier and that's the only time you could have done, I could talk to them, we could shift it, or I would just miss a day. It's not,
Yeah.
we don't really make it that significant. And I think that's what makes it easy to keep it going. Because I think if you make it like, oh, you're a bad person, you missed a day, then people are less likely to commit to it.
Yeah, and I think that's where sometimes we can go wrong with these practices because, like you say, we try and put 20 things into place immediately. And then as soon as we mess one thing up or it doesn't quite go how we want it to go, it's really easy to kind of fall back into that pattern of, oh, I'm really rubbish. I don't know how to look after myself. I can't do anything, and use it kind of to be quite self-destructive. And that really isn't the idea behind the self-care practices. It's finding like I was saying, and what you've said as we've talked, it's what works for you. So it's great. There's all these people out there that can give us all of these different ideas, but it's curating that practice that sits in your life in the way that you want your life to be, and that is doable and not. It's going to stretch, of course, because I imagine when you first started doing these things, it wasn't all comfortable and it wasn't all easy. It is a stretch, but it's something to kind of work in, isn't it? And make a part of your daily commitment to yourself, and it not feel like a job or something that you're doing because other people tell you have to do it.
Yeah, 100%. It has to be something that self-generated, that you kind of enjoy. Because, like, for instance, everyone needs exercise.
Yeah.
And whenever someone says, okay, I got to start exercising, the first thing you think of is going to the gym. I hate going to the gym. It makes no sense for me to drive somewhere where I'm going to run on a treadmill. It makes no sense. It's boring. There's a lot of sweaty people there. I don't really like sharing a locker room. Just nothing about that appeals to me. So why am I going to do that? I'm not going to do that. Instead, I can go, what other ways can I get exercise that fit inside of the day I already have, that don't require me to drive somewhere? So there's a park right down the street. I said, what if I just start shooting hoops and coming up with exercises I can do, because I love playing basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, if there's something you want, you have to make it fit inside of your desires and inside of your schedule, such that it doesn't hurt, or it hurts the minimum amount that you possibly can have.
Yeah, because we do avoid pain. So it's finding that kind of the pleasure path, isn't it? And that's going to be a little bit maybe out the comfort zone and maybe a little bit difficult to start with. But there is something in that once you start doing it, it's fulfilling, isn't it? And you you chase the joy of it, because
Yeah.
it's such a different energy to be in that when you're, like you say, go to the gym. If you the idea of going to the gym fills you with, ugh, no, thank you. But going to play basketball is joyful. It's not exercise, it's moving your body and having fun. It's a completely different mindset and a completely different space to be in.
Yeah. There's some days I'm laying in bed and I'm not a morning person. And I know I just said I wake up at 5:45, but I do it because I love talking to my friends and I love playing basketball. Like
Yeah.
you'd be surprised. I'll be laying in bed and typically I would, a year ago, I would just roll over and just be on Instagram, just like looking at my Instagram. And now I wake up and I'm just like, man, I cannot wait to put on my new sneakers and go out and play basketball. Like that's the first thought I have. So I found something that works and I'm just gonna rock with it until I find something better. I
Yeah.
think you need something that gets you out of your comfort zone because you're excited. Like even now, like I'm looking at the time, like, ooh, I hope this finishes in time for me to be able to go out and play basketball. Like that's the first thing I'm thinking,
Yeah.
So
That's interesting because I'm so enjoying speaking to you that I have not paid attention to the time, and we're recording at a time that is different for me. So I have no idea how long we've been talking for. So
I
like
think
you can tell me when you need to go. It's
that's
okay.
fair.
Um, but I want to know, like, how has putting these practices in place for you change, like, supported you, like, in your work, in your creative journey?
Oh, that's a good question. So let's see. The best way I think I can answer that is saying before I had the practices, I would wake up whatever time my body let me wake up. I would work as hard as I could all day and just be half asleep for a lot of it. Not gonna lie, I looked like the typical starving artist. I'm
Mm.
not gonna lie. I was so groggy all the time, and then I'd stay up until 3 or 4 in the morning because I'm like I didn't get enough done during the day, so I've got to stay up at night to try to finish these projects. Then I'd crash and start it all over again. And slowly, I was staying up later and later, waking up later and later, and everything was just sliding backwards. And the quality of my work was not very high. The productivity I had wasn't very high. Now that I have the self-care practices, when I come in from doing everything, I feel like energized and ready to go. And I set up my to-do list and I just do the things on the to-do list. I just do the things on the to-do list and make it super easy for me to plow through everything. And at the end of the day, I check everything that I did and then I go to bed. And I go to bed about 10, 11 o'clock now. I feel so old going to bed so early, but I can't really stay up later than that because I have to wake up at 5:45 and I'm usually pretty exhausted by that time.
Yeah.
So I think there's just a shift in my ability to be productive throughout the day versus only being productive in the evening when the time is running out.
Yeah.
And
And
I
that
can
feels
fit
like a
more things
completely
in.
different kind of energy. It is much more mindful, it's much more conscious practice rather than that kind of, oh, I've got to get things done because time is going to finish, that to get to the deadline, rather than being in that space of like supporting the creativity and the things that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, there is something positive to the grogginess though. There's most artists, if you look at them, the starving artists, they're usually pretty brilliant, and it's because their brain is not actually functioning to the highest degree. So they're able to, I'll speak for myself. When I am groggy and my brain isn't fully on, I do things that I never would think. Like I don't overthink things. And then when I
Mm,
wake up the next day, I go, how did I come up with this? This is
mm,
so different than anything I would ever do. When my brain is on fire, I pretty much make the same thing all the time. So sometimes I'll manufacture the grogginess just to make sure I can create some really cool creative things because I've been on
yeah,
both sides of that fence.
yeah. But again, that's just knowing what works for you, isn't it? And leaning into what supports what you need in that time. So in a roundabout kind of way, like, it is practicing that self-care and knowing that kind of this helps me do this, um but for most of my time to live in that best space, I need to be doing these things, or at least that's how it sounds to me.
Yeah, it's 100% it. And I schedule those times out. I do it maybe 2, 3 times a week. I don't do it more than that because the grogginess definitely has an impact,
Yeah.
but like people who do art and they do drugs and stuff like that, that's them manifesting that grogginess. That's how they do
Mm,
it. So I'm not saying anyone should do that. I'm just saying that's how people do that on purpose, because they don't realize that they can just create that some other way.
Yeah.
um yeah, so I
Yeah.
just make sure, hey, look, I'm really exhausted right now, I want to go to bed, but I have this project to do and it's not my bedtime yet, so I'm gonna dive into this other thing that needs the grogginess session right now,
Yeah.
and I'll just use that time for that.
It's working with what works for you, isn't it? I mean, I often wake up, I don't get up this time, but I often wake up at around 4, 4:30 in the morning with ideas. Um, and so I note on my phone, and I will record so many things on my phone. Usually I work for about an hour and then I go back to sleep because that works for me.
Perfect.
And I think that's the thing, it is finding like what works. Now, before that was insomnia. I just would wake up and my brain would be like, things, ideas, all of these amazing things you could be doing. And I'd get really frustrated that I wanted to be asleep and I wasn't sleeping because it was far too early for me to get up and start my day.
Mhm.
My body was not ready to be moving. And in reality, my brain wasn't going to get me through the rest of the day if I got up at that time. But a little shift in kind of my thinking made that completely different, made that energy, that space completely different. So now if I'm awake, it's like, yes, I've got an idea. I'll record that idea. I can action it later. I just need to write it down and that's it. It's done. And I think that helps as well. Like sort of knowing what, how to use it to support you and for the best of you, rather than it like I could just lay in bed and be annoyed for an hour and then I would go to
Mhm.
sleep. But now I can use that energy and use that creativity and use that space. I think that you've managed to tap into all of these amazing self-care practices to support your well-being, and then also know that sometimes it helps if I'm a little bit tired and I can do this thing.
Yeah, it sounds like what we're saying is just empowering every aspect of what's happening instead of making it wrong.
Yeah.
Like when people say I have insomnia, it makes me a little sad because it sounds like they're making their body wrong for wanting to be awake at a certain time, you know? And it's just like you said, you now are using that for productivity. I used to do
Yeah.
the same thing. I used to
Yeah.
write songs in my sleep. I used to
Yeah.
have a computer next to my bed and I'd play music on headphones as I went to sleep, and I could write the lyrics while I was in my dream.
Yeah.
And then I'd wake up, press record what I did, and then go back to sleep.
So I
And I
love
did
that.
that.
Now, yeah, I do similar, and I know other people that creatives that do similar things. But if you have a conversation, or I've had a conversation with someone who's really into neuroscience, and apparently we can't do that, but we do. So that was quite interesting to know. Like, well, that's my experience. Like, we do these things.
Why would that person say you can't? Like, I used to have lucid dreams. I could do anything I wanted to in my
Yeah, I
dreams.
think it's just the different philosophies, isn't it? And that different kind of ways in which people look at life. So people listening may be like, well, no, I've never experienced this, so therefore it can't be done. But you know, we're saying for us, you can. Like I wake up with all sorts of solutions to everything. I don't really worry about problems that I have because I know when I go to sleep, my brain will work it out for me and I'll wake up in the morning and there will be a solution ready, so I can just go and action it. So I think
Yeah.
we've got so much power in our brains that we don't understand, so we don't acknowledge can exist.
Yeah, I would never say to anyone that something's not possible. I've seen things happen that I was like, wow, that's a thing. Okay, so there's literally anything's possible, especially dreams. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know, dreams are so magical to me. My company is the Lucid Empire Entertainment because I really believe in manifesting whatever you want.
yeah,
And I got that inspiration from when I was lucid dreaming
yeah,
back in the day. I don't do it now, but there was a time when I could just do whatever I wanted to in my dreams.
yeah. Oh, there's so much. I think there's so much untapped power, and the more we, or like for me, the more we tap into like the meditation practice and sort of mindfulness and being able to be in that space, it does open up like all of these different possibilities, and kind of it is creative space, and not necessarily um, how you stereotypically think of it. For me, because that's been a journey for me, because I wouldn't have described myself as a creative person, but I've come to feel that actually the stuff that I do is creative, but just in my own little way. So I think it's quite interesting to me, like you talking about the way that you do it and the things that people do. And I like for people to have to hear that, because it just opens up their mind, other people's mind, to that possibility of that experience being available.
Yeah, and I like that you talked about your insomnia in a way that you were like, yeah, I now use that because I think that's going to open people to the same thing of like, hey, here's this problem that my body has. Maybe if I don't look at it as a problem, I can actually use it for good. It's a
Yeah,
superhero, like,
yeah,
superpower.
yeah. It's amazing though, isn't it? The shift in perspective, how that can open doors and change the way that we look at things.
Yeah, you're just trying to make the world a better place in some way. And if your brain and body works in a way that's different than everyone else, then you have a new tool that other people don't have that
Yeah,
you can now use. So yeah, I think that's part of self-care, is like recognizing what makes your body and your mind unique, and then being creative about how do I now take that and use it to move myself forward and then move the world forward.
yeah. And that's what you're doing with your work, isn't it? And that's what you're doing with like the way that you've curated your life and the way that you do what you're doing.
Yeah, my goal, so my mission, as you said, is to empower artists to create art the world deserves. And I came up with that because I graduated in 2008 from a prestigious music school, probably the biggest one in the world. And it was so hard for me to make a living,
Mm,
and then all my friends that graduated, it was so hard for them to make a living. But then I'd be in a studio with people who never went to school, and they're making like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and or more. And
yeah.
I'm just like, where's this disconnect at? Like, when we teach it and we pay to learn it, we actually can't do it.
Mm,
And the people who just do it are doing it very well. Like, there's some kind of disconnect. What do we teach? And so I started this whole journey of like studying schools, studying art, studying creativity to figure out what the gap is. And now I just help people bridge the gap. And most of it is self-care. I'm not
yeah.
even like making that up. Most
Yeah.
of it is self-care.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you've come on. I mean, I feel like we're probably at the end of time. I'm so glad that you've come on, because what you're talking about in a completely different like business area is exactly what I preach to my clients and on my platform about. Like, self-care really is the foundation of all the greatness that we can achieve in life. And it, a lot of the people like I come across, and I don't know, but if you've experienced this, it's like, well, I can't do these things. Like, I can't change my life to do that, and I can't do this, and I can't do that, and like, what am I going to lose? And it's like, but look at all the amazing things that happen when you start to make yourself a priority and create change in your life that brings you into fulfillment. It's so powerful, and you've been telling me that that's exactly what you've experienced within your life and your career. So thank you
Yeah,
so
but
much.
you're welcome. And I just want to say to anyone that wants to make that shift, it's been a gradual one that I've done over the last 6-7 years. So it's not like you're gonna switch it all tomorrow. So
Yeah,
don't put that pressure on yourself.
yeah, exactly
You
that.
know,
It
one thing
takes
at a
time, doesn't
time.
it? It's those little small consistent choices and steps that create those big differences.
Yep, there's a lot of small ones, nothing major, nothing
Yeah.
major at all.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So it feels like we are probably at the end of time. Is there anything that you want to leave people listening with today?
Yes. Take time to really brainstorm who you want to be, not what you want to have, but who you want to be as a person. And then in the next year, find 5 friends that are that thing and just hang out with them. And slowly you will start picking up their habits, and your self-care practices will be to where you can be that person.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on
You're
and
welcome.
speaking with me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to those that have listened. I hope that you've enjoyed today's episode. To find out more about me and my guest, give some feedback or suggestions, visit srtt.co.uk or follow SRTT Podcast on social media. I'll be back next Wednesday with a new guest. Until then, stay curious and be kind to yourself.